On Thursday morning, January 19th, 81-year-old Thomas Pettigrew, a lifelong seaman, and his 80-year-old wife, Katie, left Lockwood Marina in Charleston, South Carolina, with food and water for a day fishing trip. It would not be nearly enough. Thomas is portrayed by an actor, but the rest of the people involved have returned to help us tell their story. Ever since Thomas retired, the Pettigrews have gone fishing at least once a week.
Fishing is a lovely sport, and I really love fishing. We went to one place, we didn't get any fish. There wasn't any biting. And so it was around 3 o'clock that we decided to come home.
As they began to head back home, the weather turned rough and the winds picked up. Their 17-foot boat was being pushed off course, further out into the Atlantic Ocean. Luck was against them that day. Their compass had gone bad. So Thomas and Katie headed for the nearest visible land, Seabrook Island, one of many resort islands off the coast of South Carolina. As they were fighting their way back to shore against the weather, their boat ran out of fuel.
When we seen we couldn't make it, we anchored there, and we could see the shore, and we could see people walking up and down. We blowed the horn and everything, but nobody paid any attention.
January nights come early. It was rapidly getting dark and cold. Without any power, the only thing to do was to stay anchored and try to attract the attention of someone who could help them. But their flares went unanswered.
And so we stayed to Seabrook that night.
On Friday, friends and relatives of Katie and Thomas began to report the couple missing to the police and the Coast Guard. They had last been sighted to the north of Charleston on Thursday afternoon. A search was launched in that area, led by Coast Guard Lieutenant James Howe.
We started an 18 by 12 mile search pattern, 18 miles to the north, 12 miles to the east. And we searched legs 1 mile apart, which would give us a fairly high probability of finding these folks if they were out there. The weather at that point was just starting to deteriorate, and that's how the conditions remained for the next day. We didn't think their chances were that great. Still, we never give up until there's really no hope to look anymore.
The Coast Guard searched throughout the night until very early Saturday morning, but found nothing. By then, waiting friends and relatives, like the Pettigrew's grandnephew Wayne Moore, were becoming very worried.
That was one scary day. As old as they were, with the limited supplies that they had, dealing with what they had to deal with out there. Plus his medical history, you know. He has a severe heart condition. They didn't see a chance of him surviving past the second day. A lot of family members thought they were already dead.
At daylight, the search resumed. Katie and Thomas Pettigrew had been missing for 2 days.
We got dispatched out into the worst weather we've seen in a long time around here. It's very difficult to stay afloat and fight off the elements when you're in 8 to 10-foot seas. One breaking wave could capsize their boat or swamp their boat, throw them into the water.
As the authorities later pieced the facts together, the Pettigrews faced their worst piece of luck as the big storm system moved in on Saturday. Their small boat was blown off its anchor, leaving them helplessly adrift in the fierce winds and currents of the Atlantic Ocean.
Let's go ahead and increase speed to full speed, get on scene in about 2 hours.
All right, Kim.
Saturday night, we decided to go out one more time on one more sortie. So we went out around 8 o'clock at night on Saturday night and searched till around 4 in the morning Sunday with no results at all.
The seas had become too rough. The Coast Guard vessels returned to port. Katie and Thomas had been missing for 3 days. That Sunday, at the Pettigrew's church, special prayers were said for the safe return of the missing couple.
I had been praying constantly. Even a man without his medical problems would find it hard to survive out there because the Atlantic can be nasty at times. Mother Nature has a way of reminding you who's boss.
Late on Sunday, rain and rough seas forced the search for Katie and Thomas Pettigrew to be called off. They were presumed lost at sea. When we continue,
we looked down a deserted stretch of beach where a boat laid on its side, and there was a little white flag on it.
Hey, Tim, look at that. There's a boat down there.
Monday afternoon, a Marine Corps helicopter Angel 1 had just completed a routine exercise in air search and rescue 45 miles south of Charleston. It was returning to base, piloted by Captain Mike Hengel, with Navy medic Albert Hotch on board.
We had just completed a routine training operation, and we're transiting south along the Atlantic coastline, and we looked down a deserted stretch of beach where a boat laid on its side. You know, it kind of looked like Gilligan's Island or whatever. It was just laid there stranded, and there was a little white flag on it.
Hey, Tim, look at that. There's a boat down there.
I was pretty sure something was wrong when I saw the white flag on the boat. The next thing I saw was some civilians waving their arms. We landed down the beach, and I sent Sergeant Oliver over. He jumped out, and I said, "The Pettigrews, this could be the Pettigrews."
Somebody couple said they've been out here on the beach and been stranded for 5 days. 5 days? Yes, sir, 5 days. Okay, we want, hey, ask them if they're the Pettigrews out of Charleston. Dude, that's affirmative. They are the Pettigrews out of Charleston. Wow, that's incredible.
They couldn't exactly look like angels, but after they say they was Angel 1, well, I believed them.
We stabilized them as best we could and got them on the helicopter. Mr. Pettigrew, he definitely needed to get back and get seen at a hospital. He was weak and dehydrated and just suffering from exposure. And Mrs. Pettigrew, boy, she was a ball of fire. She was sitting back there just happy enjoying the helicopter flight, you know.
When I found out that they were 80 years old, I was pretty shocked to know that they had survived that long.
Their 5-day ordeal finally over. Katie and Thomas Pettigrew were flown to a hospital only minutes away, where Dr. Lester Haddad was on duty.
I was so amazed at how well they looked, the fact they're awake and their vital signs are normal. There were some medical problems, obviously. Both of them had starvation. They both had severe environmental exposure. But here is an elderly couple out at sea for 4 days with no food or water, and they never gave up hope.
Within a few days, Katie and Thomas were driven back to their house in Charleston by their grandnephew Wayne, where a crowd of friends and family were waiting to welcome them home.
They were all standing on the sidewalk. They flocked towards the car. It looked like a riot was going on here. Everybody was all smiles and all happy to see them. That's when they really found out how much they really mean to us. Just an outpouring of joy and love is what it was.
Glad to have you. I never did give up on you. People I didn't know come and hug me and say that I prayed for you for your safe return. And I'm so glad because it was a miracle.
Life has gone on for the Pettigrews. 6 months later, their boat has been repaired. And in spite of all that happened to them, they can't stay away from the sea.
Out there, you just hear the water in the wind, and you fish, and nothing happens. And I really love fishing. Why shouldn't I?